to war to fight other young men that they don't know each other because of old men that do know each other. I remain steadfast in...
You think the coalition today in Israel, the religious, they're in the coalition, when they send the children to the synagogue, they can send my children to die in the war. You think it's reasonable? You think somebody in Israel will accept it?
My point is, like, you know, I joined the military because I thought I was being an honorable part of, like, the patriotic system that my family had been a part of for forever, as far as I knew. And then, you know, the problem was we were being steered by people that were making us go fight people that we didn't know, you know, and because they knew the older parties, and it was for naught. And that's the problem. Is when our government, which is governamentus, is like to steer the mind. When the steering of the mind goes left, and they push all of us that are trying to be patriotic and trying to do the right thing, and they hang us out in the fucking breeze, you know, I call bullshit.
Listen, the point is, peace isn't around the corner. Peace is now. And if people knew that, there would be peace now.
Yeah, but how do you tell people that like to have pissing contests staring into the wind what to do?
I don't know. The concept of peace now is not anything new. It has existed for at least 60 years in the American vernacular. However, since 9/11, we may have been manipulated. But the point is, peace is always now. That's the beautiful aspect of it, is coexistence is now, but people live outside of the peace. So, you know, thus you have violent conflict. But the thing about terrorism and war is it's all a violation of law. So it's not going to stop. The violation of the law is always happening now as well, but it's just a question of consciousness and awareness. An app like this theoretically should be able to create a state of coexistence within, you know, in groups, out groups, crowds, etc. I mean, because again, it's always essentially a communication challenge. You know, that's the problem. There's no Tower of Babylon. If everybody had one mind, there would be peace. But to achieve a one mind state amongst all people, to de-escalate and to, it's just, you know, people, so you know that's not going to happen unless there's some type of technological communication breakthrough. And social media technically should be that, but unfortunately, tribalism and people and their worst behavior comes out at an even more exponential rate on social media. So it's not the liberation and peace creation that people may have hypothesized it to be. It actually enhances people's bad character traits, probably. I mean, do you realize technically every politician is nothing but a digital content creator now? So it's just, it opens it up to criticism.
If anybody knows John Kidover, that guy's really weird.
I mean, think about all the lies and propaganda that all these politicians create all the time in these congressional chambers and these Senate chambers, and they just create content and interview witnesses. It's all just content creation, but none of it is honest. Because the country's $40 trillion in debt, paying $100 billion a month in interest.
And yeah, there's definitely nothing sincere about what they talk about.
Yeah, so it takes outside organizations like Joe B's company or other think tanks to essentially form the reframe and critique of what's happening. And Amos is doing that with Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know Benjamin Netanyahu from Moshe Dayan. The point to me is, I look at Benjamin Netanyahu and I see somebody who is a great communicator. Now, whether he uses his great communication skills for deception, you may know better than I do because you probably went to high school with the guy. So I understand your position, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, as an American, I definitely live in a bubble here, and I know if you live in Israel, you definitely live in a bubble over there. And thus, you come to Clown House, your bubble pops, and then you say, "What I think we have here is a failure to communicate." And then they launch
So
the sneak
what
attack.
he wants is what he gets.
Almost, I mean, Anyways,
I know.
what do
You
you?
say my name again and again because this is my work. I know it's a fact. The fact you have to stand in the court and give a testimony about his crimes. The fact that Israel called Bibi Netanyahu in 3 cases of corruption.
His ICC is after Trump. Nobody cares about the ICC. Nobody cares about a crap about the International Court. Like, why does everybody keep pointing at the International Court like we give a crap?
Why he have more rights than me? If I'm getting caught and
Why do you think I give a shit about what you say?
because this is my room.
Well, I mean, in the terms of IR, like the international courts, like America doesn't recognize the international courts. Why would you expect them to?
Because if I have to decide between the High Court of my country and the Prime Minister of my country, I would choose the High Court. Exactly, just very simply.
So fucking weird.
And if the Parliament don't listen to the High Court, then that's a chaos inside Israel. So if the Parliament don't listen to the High Court, why should I listen to the High Court? So it's a chaos. Right now there is a chaos.
But how do you think the international court has authority over America? Is what I want to know.
You can't compare between America and Israel. It's so different.
I didn't say that. I said the international court. How do you think that? I asked you how do you think the international court has authority over America? Is what I asked you.
Don't understand what
That's not a Republican.
authority.
Like for you to tell me what to do, that's authority.
That's the guy.
Why do you think the international court gets to tell America what to do? By what authority?
The High Court in America decide to America. The High Court in Israel.
The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not the international court. You don't even know what you're referring to. Like I'm a
Does the guy
licensed
even
Geneva
post
convention
anything
holder,
that supports Trump or America?
because you have to be in order to be able to medic down range.
Listen, all those
But see, you don't like it when somebody knows more than what you know. Now you start over talking people and discrediting them by not allowing them to make the point. Amos, I'm glad this is your room. I can expose you.
So bizarre. It's like an empty shell spam.
I don't think English is too complicated. What is to expose me?
Like Noah being his nakedness seen by Ham, and when he woke up, he cursed Canaan.
Almost, you're not gonna win with Doctor here. Doctor is going to have fun and just never stop, coexisting with you. But you're going to be challenged.
You say you're not the most crazy man comedian. You say there are some people who are more crazy than you. That's what you want to do.
I mean, don't you just agree with the violation of the law is the problem in reality? That when somebody decides to throw a stone at somebody, and kill them, that is a problem. And it's got to, the justice system has to have compassion, but also pursue justice vigilantly. And war is an aspect of that justice system. And so October 7th and Gaza and Hamas, I mean, this is a chain of events which demands justice. So I don't know how you get around that.
I'll tell you right now, if I was there on October 7th, I would have said, let that be headshot. And I'd have pulled out my shit and be like, da, 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 da. I'd have laid them motherfuckers down. The problem is, y'all don't got enough guns.
They were at a peace concert and they were slaughtered. Have you been to many concerts in America? You never had to worry about getting slaughtered or taken hostage. So you're talking about dramatic
I'm
situations.
always curious when I go to a concert, bro.
I get it, but the point is, it's 2025, not 1225.
The point is, the thousands of people go outside to the street, demonstrate against the government, fed up of this fucking government, want Israel to release Gaza from the military, want this war to be ended, and want our hostages home back.
Yeah, but you're asking.
The people know, and if you live in Israel, you know what the people think. You always say majority.
I know, but it's a network.
The government a long time ago doesn't have. They have 68 members, big deal. They don't have the majority in Israel.
You have to look at it through the lens of organizational theory.
Psychologist of Gideon Saar, why he joined this parliament, that he have nothing, zero supporting in the people, zero supporting.
I know, but zero support doesn't mean that it's not already integrated. You're trying to project your model of the universe, but it's not accurate. You're talking about organizational behavioral theory, communication theory.
This government have to do two things. One is to put ועדת חקירה ממלכתית that will check what's happened in the 7th of October. They didn't do it. The second thing, to go and get the permission from the people again. Two things they didn't do. And these two things, they still...
You're talking about a book, though, Dr. Amos.
Thousands of people go outside to the street. And I'm very sorry to say that I'm too old to go outside. And I'm just supporting them. But they also have a lot of supporters. And Israel is divided for two pieces, those who hate Bibi, like me, or those people like comedian who like Bibi. And
the thing, Amos, it's not about somebody who likes somebody or doesn't like somebody. It's about essentially not having an opinion. Your opinion is part of the problem, meaning that if you're in the now, you're actually in peace.
I don't send soldiers to the war. I'm not in a position that I send soldiers in.
But see, that's maybe why you're not. See, you are. But you're here on this app, essentially. Yeah, I know, but Amos, you have to. You're already accepting personal responsibility by being here. I mean, because you're voicing. Listen, the point is, freedom of speech is very important. To come on the internet and to talk about these issues is very important. So you're taking responsibility for it. But the problem is, I don't think you're framing it correctly. The title should be How to Create Peace in Your Life Right Now. If you had people who were on the opposing side, because really what you're trying to do is consult with younger people who may be inspired by hate. So if you could really do anything, it would be to provide some education and therapy to young people who may be inspired in the future to make a wrong turn, get off the derech, and commit an act of violence or some type of political extremist activity. So, what can you do? You have to be a communication consultant. What else can you do? Everything else requires too much work, but you could do it. You're doing it on the internet, but I'm just saying that's really what you're doing is you're providing a group therapeutic setting for future people.
The little thing I can do, I open your room every night and you see it's 4 o'clock in the morning in Israel, so this room is open for 4 hours now. And written coexistence, ODB, it's me, who knows, who don't know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we know you're an old dirty bastard.
Exactly.
Baby, I got your money, don't you worry.
What I said, Israel cheated the Palestinians. Israel did not start the peace. Israel did not want any conversation because Israel, the government, if Israel starts the coalition is falling down, and Israel go to voting, and that's what's supposed to be. So the little thing I do every night, I open coexistence, and usually Palestinians come here, and usually I speak and find more languages, Palestinian than with Jewish and people like Eitan. But I think 4 o'clock in the morning, it's a good time for going to sleep. What do you say?
Oh, you should go to sleep at 11 o'clock. You know, got up at 7 o'clock. I mean,
Usually I go 1, 2 o'clock, but tomorrow I'm not working, so I let myself stay till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I feel that my eyes start.
Well, change the title of your room to Amos's Support Therapy Group for Angry Clown House People. You know, because what the problem with violence is, it always comes from a source of anger and the inability to essentially transform that anger back into peace. So I just think this app is like a great space to try to create harmony, you know, and I think you do a good job, but I mean, really, what you're doing is you're a communications coach that has to teach peace. I mean, what else can you do?
That's what I'm trying to do. Try to speak with my enemy. And you're not my enemy, comedian. You're a Bibi supporter. I hate you, but I hate your ideals of supporting Bibi.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Benjamin Netanyahu's my uncle. So, you know, why would I hate my uncle?
He's your uncle. And Sarah Netanyahu is your cousin.
No, you're my uncle. That's my point. Is everybody's my uncle.
And you keep Yair Netanyahu in Miami with all the Shabak keeping his life. So I think you're in a problem if you support. If someone support Bibi Netanyahu is a kind of.
Well, what is your biggest complaint about him? What do you think that he did in his life is his biggest of, you know, avoira, his biggest Yetzer Hara? What did he do in his life that was so terrible that he's not a man? He's still a man.
He put too many money to Yahya Sinwar to build this very good channels to keep the hostages. That's what he did. And
that is not all his. You know how much international money has flowed to those people?
You know what's happened the day after? The day after is nothing. You know, if somebody go against the High Court in Israel, or against the leftists, or against the people who are very educated, if somebody going, nothing will get memory for it. Even, you know, Menachem Begin was the most clever person in the Likud part, yes? Who remember Menachem Begin? He had 2-3 years maybe in Haifa, in Tel Aviv. Nobody remember. Arik Sharon, he released, everybody remember him. Why? Because he go with the leftists. He released Gaza from all the settlers. And the leftists don't remember that he's a criminal, he's corruption, maybe more than Bibi Netanyahu. But nobody remembers that he's corruption, because he did good things as a politician, he go with understand the situation. But those people are corruption and understand nothing in politics. They contact, not with me. To be human being for the family of the hostages. I don't see one person in the coalition that people can vote and say is a human being. The only person they vote on who is human being, Bibi Netanyahu saw him out of the Likud, it's security minister. He go and hug the hostages, the family. It's human being. It's not connected with opinion. If you're rightist, if you're leftist. Is human being. This family, the children is in Asa. Go and hug them. Go and support them. Be human being. I don't see one member in the coalition give Eitan, the moderator, and thank you for the people. Thank you for the people who read my homework and keep on sleeping.
Almost change up your title. How to create peace in your life now.
I go and say to Amir good night, and then I go to sleep. Some people hear it.
You don't have a sugar habit, obviously, Sasha, unless you're satisfying it in some way that's not obvious. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have a sweet
I
tooth."
actually don't like sweet stuff very much.
Okay, so you don't do any ice cream, juices, fruit juices, honey. I'm not saying any, but you don't. You just think about how
No,
pure.
that's just like basically not like in my diet almost at all.
Fruit.
I eat fruit, I eat like apples.
Okay. Well, you're very disciplined in that area. Then you never let the demon in, I guess.
Not everyone.
Yeah, it's just like I have like a natural predisposition to just not like this stuff.
You're a candy demon.
Me too.
Look at you dastardly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so here's the thing, right? I knew the whole time I was doing it, and people know, and it's not just like, oh, the public's going to shame you, and the public does shame you. They find out about it, right? But that's built in because it's wrong. So like, I wanted to hide it. Hide your hand, right? Throw a rock and hide your hand. That was the whole idea. That's what happened, and I knew it with beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is wrong. There is absolutely no ambiguity. I know Selah and other people want to say things. Oh, well, you just don't know better. You know, you're a kid. No, I'm a kid, and I knew I was doing what I
I'm
was
talking about candy.
I don't give a fish.
I never missed that argument that you done this what you're doing. I don't know why, Andrew, you
No.
love Mr.
Why are you so hard on
I
yourself?
usually don't do this.
Why are you so hard on yourself?
I'm sorry, Selah. I apologize. But I knew that was bad, and it was like $40-some worth of candy, right? Now,
I mean, it's fucking gangsters.
It's not a moral dilemma.
well, I won't talk about. No, I wasn't talking about moral dilemma at that time. I was just saying walking in the spirit versus walking in your flesh. And at that point, I just was submitting to my flesh. I knew what was wrong, and I did it anyway. I was tempted by the candy, by my cravings, by me seeing the candy, by me
I mean,
seeing
so much shit. Like, you stole
What the fuck
candy
is this guy talking about?
That's just like cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
cool, right.
normally it's like it's easy. It's like stealing candy from a baby, but no, it's hard.
Yeah, but
stealing
it's like
candy from a
baller.
girl. Yeah, I agree. There's some baller in this and there. It's kind of similar to when Jesus drowns 2,000
Like-
big.
Right, it's like gangster, Andrew.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus would have done.
Right.
Like those two boxes, like forever. Fucking like Rocky forever.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah. So all I'm saying is you have this awareness that you shouldn't do these things, and you can be convicted about things and just go in your flesh. I'm saying somebody who's walking in the spirit, who finds themselves in a very tough situation, instead of doing something like stealing from your neighbor or lying to somebody, you can rely on God to provide you a way out, which I will point out. And I don't know if you're here, Sam, you can't see my screen. The Bible explicitly says, and this is one of the most gangster verses, but when you are tempted, you will not be tempted beyond that which you are able to bear. But if you can not give in, that God will provide you a way out. It's a guarantee. It's a promise. So,
Is this someone with TBI from getting punched in the head at a
or you're
party
like, oh,
for
I'm
making
tempted to do this thing
ads?
that I know is evil. I'm saying there's always another option. I'm saying
Aren't there examples in the Bible where God doesn't tell them what to do in the moral dilemma?
well, they aren't necessarily seeking God. I mean, show me a passage where there's somebody who loves God, is seeking God for an answer. It's not something they're doing wrong, right? Their heart's good. Their intention is good. They don't want to sin against God. And they're like, God, I just don't see any other way. Like, I got to do this evil thing that you don't want me to do. Please, God, help me. Give me some.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Oh, Habibti. Oh, Habibti.
Elaborate? It's only gay if you're catching. See, I heard it's gay if you like it. Like you can participate, but if you didn't like it, then you're not gay. right. So like someone like Prince, he would be gay because he'd be enjoying it, even though he could go enjoy other things also. I think it's gay. It's also gay if you get asked first. Like I spent a lot of time in the hockey locker room. If I go in and I demand that some other dude show me their bird and then I call him a gay boy, then he's gay. But he better show me that cock. So the rule is don't get asked first. Do the asking. That way you can assert yourself, and that's the straightest thing you can do.
So how do you ask somebody to show you your penis?
You say, show me that bird, gay boy. It sounds cool. Yeah, it sounds like pretty cool that way.
Scott, when are you going to create a podcast? I like your podcasts on Facebook, Scott. They're great. But when are you going to start asking about your taint?
To you what a lot of the internet people say. I think the phrase goes, choose better. Anyways, is that an option? Choose better?
I don't choose black. That's the better phrase.
The son of the Israeli woman and the Egyptian man.
Yes, right. So can you imagine seeing somebody and being taking part of party two, stoning somebody to death? Do you think that as a
can't imagine?
Yeah, so
Roger Mayhem is back as Taco.
Something detailed, it's detailed. I have never heard that pronunciation before. Really? Like detailed in the report? Have you never heard that? Tucker Carlson loves to say never. 100%.
You hear that? Detailed
For
versus
them to
detailed.
have known that he was sick and let the public know beforehand is going to do damage. And I think that, like, you know, for people who actually want, you know, things to go back democratic, I think that people need to start being honest about, you know.
What is this? Yay, listening party. So what? We have to wait. Oh, we got 10 minutes till the party starts, Chris?
आपकी कंपनी को मेल किया था ना रेव के लोगों ने, भूल गए ना आप? फिर इसके बाद आप रेव छोड़ के चले गए थे क्योंकि आपकी नौकरी छूटने वाली थी। क्या है यार पुलकित? बी अ मैन। कुछ नहीं, मगर यहाँ पे प्रूफ डाल दूं जिसके अंदर तुम्हारी कंपनी को मेल किया था। फिर तुम रोने लगोगे, फिर तुम रीचा के पीछे जाके तुम हिलाओगे और कहोगे रीचा हम।
There's an error.
Did you say that? That's interesting if that's true.
Yeah, that's gonna be my claim.
Yeah.
And there's two things. One's gonna be
Sweaty balls. It's on Creator Gully. Oh my god, it's so funny. Okay, we're gonna see if we can find the taco room, which is going. Can't find it. That was the one account they didn't have blocked. I must have more, don't I? Just what's up with the downloaders? Yeah, what's his face? I think Steve O'Connell has me blocked like everything. I think it's the Apple accounts that they didn't block. Trump is more godly than the Pope. I found it again. Trump is more godly than the Pope. Let's see if we can find it.
You want me to explain or do you want me to? Yes. Yeah, please do. Please do. We've got all night. Okay, bro.
Pink is back.
I got all night. Yeah. What's the point? This is real. You should look at how did AI take your job? Steve, did you I was just about to say something smart.
Damn, they kicked me.
Well,
See someone's here.
Hey Aaron, how's it going?
How long you been waiting?
I don't know, 15 minutes or so, but I'm just.
Oh shit! Sorry. Yeah, sometimes I get involved in something and I forget that I'm here.
So my question in the chat is, I've heard it said that if you improve yourself, you improve the world. So is the fastest way to improve the world by focusing on improving self? And then also a combination of communication distribution.
Well, let's take the first one. The fastest. No, there's no one fastest way, but certainly working on yourself is definitely improving the world. That's a great place to start. But who knows what you can do past that? I don't know. And what was the second part?
because it's kind of like it's 1 part, 2 part question or whatever, but it's basically, basically, if you improve yourself, because I'm basically projecting, saying I believe that I'm improving myself and bouncing back the communication and distributing it as intelligently as I can in an attempt to improve.
By improving yourself, you improve all of your communication with other people, and that's better. Period. And on some level, maybe minor, maybe huge, I don't know. But if you're actually better, then you're less of a problem in the world.
You're less of a problem in the world?
Well, yeah, if you work on cleaning up your own bullshit, yeah.
Yes.
That's the whole idea of working on yourself, not being such an asshole, being more thoughtful. All sorts of ways we could do that.
Yeah. Every time I pick up a book that I've read many times before, there's always another moment of, yikes.
You read books often?
Yeah, I've created thousands of 60-second clips on YouTube of me reading all types of books. Tao Te Ching, Marcus Aurelius, everything. Yeah, so I'm studying all this sacred writings.
Have you seen my bibliography at the top of this page?
Yeah, I looked at your dojo and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, I was going to try to read some of it, but then I'm just like, I have come to the conclusion that essentially no matter how many books you read, there's just, let's say, 10 fundamental principles. So it's kind of like, to me, the Tao Te Ching is a very nice compression of essentially Enlightenment theology.
Yeah, it's as good as anything else, I think. I mean, it's a little too wordy, but it's better than most. Yeah, that's a long time ago too. We got better ways of talking about this shit now. I mean, if the way they talked about it 2,000 years ago worked, we'd all be enlightened now. Obviously, they're full of shit. All the talk, all the stuff about enlightenment hasn't had much influence yet. I think that's about to change, but.
Yeah, but then that goes back to my first part about personal improvement, because every time I reread or meaning that, like, if you can only memorize 3 variables, it just basically then takes a daily renewal. Otherwise, it's like you forget how to ride a bicycle.
I'm not sure I follow you. Well, actually, I'm sure I don't follow you.
Programming is what I'm saying, is the content matters.
Yeah. Go on.
So, if you can find a document like the Tao Te Ching and study it daily, I have many variables. I mean,
if you study anything daily with the right intention, you're on the right track. It doesn't have to be the Tao Te Ching. It could be, Bible would work probably if you got the right intention, or the Quran.
Yeah. That one book in the Bible, The Preacher, talks about vanity of vanities. That one is always extremely prescient, because all of these brain-dead language monkey politicians are essentially failing to understand that what they're doing is vain.
It's just they're not in the game anymore. They're all trying to maintain the caterpillar. We're here building a butterfly. Fuck them. They haven't got a clue. Hopefully they won't fuck it up so bad that it, really becomes a problem for all of us. They probably will, but we'll see.
Well, they already have, in a way.
Yeah. The millions of people suffer every day on this planet. We don't think about it much in the United States, but
it's kind of fucked up, because in 30 years from 1970, they were on the right track, but really, I think the events of 9/11 is what fucking took us down the wrong direction.
I don't think we're going. Well, I don't think there is a wrong direction. I think Earth is doing what's happening here, not us. And that what we're witnessing is the emergence of the first global high-tech civilization and the end of the age of nation states and the end of capitalism and the end of all of our old cultural things. We're headed into a new world here.
But how do you delete the programming of the past? Because I'm looking at a copy of Thomas Jefferson.
It's not that difficult. You start by observing it, just like any science. If you want to do something or study something, the first thing you do is observe and take notes. So you sit quietly. Some people call it meditate. Only I meditate with a pen and a piece of paper. I mean, that's one way. And you start noting what the fuck your language machine is saying.
Yeah.
And paying attention to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't take very long before you realize that you're the one watching the language machine. You're not the language machine. I mean, the language machine is very useful sometimes and totally toxic at other times, but you're the one who's observing it. And once you establish that, you can begin to change it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all conversations ultimately end up, they can be ended by saying, you know, let's meditate or meditate now. And so what I'm often telling people is I say, what you are doing is you are being a communications consultant. And if you really want to be a successful communications consultant, you have to teach the art of meditation. And so, you know, there's so many Alan Watts.
You don't have to call it meditation.
What else? What's a good term for it? Mindfulness?
I'm still haven't landed on something, but it's a technique for disengaging from the language machine. And I could, you can make up a bunch of names for it. Sometimes I just call it sitting, but I mean that's what a lot of other people call it too. So, yeah. Meditation. I try to stay away from that word because everybody thinks that they've got some idea about what the fuck they think that means. And they're all full of shit.
So I would call it, I would just like simplify by saying silence now and now silence. But there are times where, I let my mind drift, but I wouldn't really call it drifting. I would say it's like my mind forward projecting.
Are you talking about your mind or are we talking about your language machine?
I would say it's.
I don't know what the hell you mean by mind.
When I say mind, I mean that I am observing my mind silent.
No, what? What do you mean your mind? What the fuck is your mind? I have no clue.
It's me. I'm having thoughts. I'm having thoughts about things I have to do basically.
Language. You're talking to yourself.
Yeah, I'm talking to myself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I can talk about that. My language machine. That's a huge part. It's not the entire mind, obviously, but it's a big part of it. A big important part of it.
So, but let's say I play music, I'm no longer using my language machine. I'm basically creating like a hypnotic flow state. But even in that flow state, I guess I still am talking to myself.
Well, I'm not talking about the language machine can come and go. I mean, with meditation, it changes your relationship to it anyway. So, your language machine doesn't operate now like it did 20 years ago. So,
is it accurate though to describe it as an interruption of the language machine, or is it more like an on-off switch type of arrangement?
It's what?
Meditation, essentially.
Oh, like doing a mantra or something?
Yeah. Interrupting the automated
language. For me, that's the point of a mantra is to shut down the language machine. If your mouth is busy going ooh la gina, you cannot also be thinking, that asshole at work today, I'm going to tell him off tomorrow. It's a way to it's a blunt force instrument to shut down the language machine. A mantra is powerful in shutting down the language machine.
Yeah, I have this Om card. It says it's the sound of all sounds, the universal sound, and the beginning of life.
I've heard that bullshit for 50 years. I don't even
But it's the same thing as saying it's just a mantra. That's all it is.
Well, then why not just say that instead of all this philosophical bullshit they throw on top of it?
Well, see, there's 4 parts to the Om, which is O, and then silence. So this is the part that I didn't, until I saw this card, it didn't really make sense to me. But the 4th aspect, which is silence, it makes it essentially a 4-variable equation. So the silence, again, silence now silence is what I think a lot of these brain dead language monkey operators can't or haven't really discovered in their life, essentially.
Well, no, they're totally identified with the voice in their head, first of all. That's who they think they're doing it. They think that's me. I said that. I thought that. Again, they're all under the spell of the voice in their head, their language machine. 98% of people, 98% of the time, are literally entranced by the voice in their head.
Okay, so then I guess this would be the last, because Alan Watts talks about the organism, environment, organism. So it's not just the voice in their head, it's the voice that they are ingesting, primarily through their cell phone.
Actually, I'm beginning to look at language as a sort of field theory rather than something that's in your head and in my head. I'm thinking we exist in a linguistic field somehow,
Yeah.
and we participate in that field.
Yeah. It's a linguistic word field, because even the Bible says in the beginning is the word. So, I think, I go into these theist debate rooms on this app a lot, and there's people that create rooms all the time called "Prove to Me God Exists." So I go in there and I say, I can't have this debate with you unless we have one pre-existing compromise or condition, that God is the word. God is the word. That God is the word. That the Spirit of God floats through our minds like through words, essentially.
Oh, well, of course, if they're atheists, they're not even going to accept anything with the word God in it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that awareness of the Word being God as opposed to the Godfather is a much more healthy way of understanding God, because then it brings you back to communication.
Toxic. I wouldn't say it's more healthy, but I'd say it's less toxic.
Yeah, less toxic. Yeah. Well.
See, I think basically there's a point at which language, you just have to abandon language. Language just doesn't go there, period.
Yeah.
But that's a big leap, and that's scary and liberating and all sorts of things, but most people have to be kind of desperate before they're willing to take that leap.
Well, desperate, wise, or mystic. I mean, Alan Watts definitely embodies the mystic ethos. His entire career is essentially like a mystic.
A weirdo from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it was Buddhism that got him. I mean, he was brilliant anyways. The Alan Watts story is interesting.
Well,
but
he got lucky. He got, into Buddhism young. So, who knows what else he might have gotten into.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's I don't know, because anyways, he's fantastic, and he's undisputably, he's prolific.
He's the guy that started. He's the guy that woke me up. So there's nothing you can say about Alan Watt. I mean, I when I reread him now, I don't always agree with the way he talks about things, but it doesn't make any difference because he's the guy that woke me up. So he was doing the best he could back in the 1950s and 60s, and the world's changed a lot since then. There's a lot better ways to talk about this stuff now than he had available to him.
But it's scary. I think it's scary because I don't hear anybody talking about this stuff in my field of communication. I don't, other than you, about essentially enlightenment. I mean, there's other people, but they never really get into, because there's a political aspect to enlightenment.
Oh yeah, it's tough to talk about these things. I mean, we don't have a language for one thing. The whole enlightenment stuff is tied into the spirituality stuff, and it's just there's so much bullshit floating around and all this stuff. It's tough to sort of find some clean way to talk about it. That's sort of what I've been working on, is the language side of it. How can we fucking talk about it this way so that it works? I mean, because clearly it hasn't worked. They've been talking about enlightenment for 3,000 years. And so where's all the fucking enlightenment?
Well, yeah, George Carlin talked a lot about advertising. I've worked in advertising for a lot of years. So the whole point, this is a word expression that I've recently come up with, is that all communication is hypnosis, spam, and projection. And I've really come to the conclusion that, I kind of have a real love-hate relationship with this app.
First of all, it's not all. It's like 98% or something, but it's not all.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just simplify it and reduce it as much as possible.
But that's a mistake, I think, linguistically. Just say 98%.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's only 96.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. But the point.
Say all, you're hypnotizing him. You're just putting him in a different trance.
Yeah, the whole realization is, because I have this love-hate relationship with this app, is that today because I've talked to so many people on this app, and
With who? With what?
this app, people on this app, meaning that like I've come to the conclusion that I'm really wasting my time with people because what they're doing is spamming, which is using their brain dead language.
You're wasting your time talking to most people. Yes. So get over it. Quit doing it.
So then that's like,
to talk to somebody is either they can teach you something and enlighten you, or you can enlighten them. If there isn't any possibility of either of those happening, there's no point in being there.
yeah. So basically, that means only 2 out of every 100 people are worthy to actually have a conversation with.
But you don't know who they are. You got to give them a couple minutes to try to. I mean, that's the other thing, is you got to be able to know the difference between, people who are actually maybe open a little bit, and people are just full of shit who like to pose as open, So, but
what's funny though is when you run into business people and they may even have a substantial net worth, they actually have no interest or knowledge whatsoever about enlightenment. And
money, there's nothing you can say. Yeah, they're not even interested. Well, it depends. They're all individual human beings with their own, stories and bullshit, whatever they got going.
Well, then that means they just haven't broken their conditioning, even though they're very financial. Part of it is it's got to be, yeah.
It's totally irrelevant to this. It has nothing to do with it. Money is neither good or bad in respect to this.
Well, I guess I'm just talking about a specific field of education, essentially. But
what do you mean?
It's basically, it's enlightenment education. I mean, if you study Alan Watts, Tao Te Ching, any of these Eastern, whether it comes from China or India or Israel or it's all, or New Jersey, and it's the Valley Boys or whatever. I mean, basically marketing and communication, advertising communication, you can spot it all the time where people who understand enlightenment or liberation theology or any kind of spiritual practice, they incorporate that marketing message all the time into their branding effort and their communication jingles. It's always about trying to bring your attention to the now, and they do it essentially using memetics and you could say occult sigils, symbolism, and it's a people know that they are using symbols of God or divinity in the marketing communication message, and thus they believe that it has a higher hypnotic and consumer stickiness.
I know nothing about any of that, so.
No, you see it all the time though. It's in all the logos, the Peacock, CBS, NBC, all that stuff.
Again, if you're not paying attention to it, then it's sort of irrelevant. I don't even see. Again, I'm a hermit. I live here with my dogs. I don't go out.
No, I get it.
Talk to people on Clubhouse, and I talk to other people, friends and stuff. But
I'm just saying, communication consultants understand these things and they deploy them for commercial purposes all the time. That's all I'm saying.
Perhaps, maybe they do. I don't know. Basically, I just take each person one by one and see where they're coming from. Groups. Again, there's so much variance within any group, at least from what I can see. That I just have to spend a few minutes listening to what their language machine is throwing out, and then I have a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Well, I would say that there is something inherent in every human or language machine that from the subconscious to the conscious level, they respond universally to universal symbols like Om, for example, and that sigil, whatever that is, it looks like a girl's butt with like an eye and a moon licking its, tits or its ass, which really points to the naturalistic kind of, our genetic code is demanding that we baby for countless generations. And a lot of that is in the symbolism and the sigils and in the communication. Obviously, sex sells, but there's lots of ways to represent sex, through different sigils and languages, etc. So it is one of those universal communication keys that is just constantly in the communication field.
Well, like I say, it's just of no concern to me. My focus is elsewhere. I'm, you know, I just don't know. I don't have anything to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know that guy, Dr. or I don't know if he's a doctor, but Jordan Gruber on here, who has his, you know, his book on microdosing and stuff.
Yeah. No, he's not a doctor.
Yeah, but he has enlightenment.com, so he's into, you know, these types.
Yeah.
He was calling it transpersonal psychology in a way, but I don't know. It's all just self-development, isn't it? It's all just self-help, self-development, personal improvement.
It's not all anything you can say. It's not language. What's real is not language. Language is after the fact, and it's very useful. But what it all is what it all is.
But can we really do personal development or even social development without words?
Did I suggest that you can do? No, we are words. Words are essential, but they only operate in a certain limited domain. They're very helpful. They're essential, really, in that domain, and useless everywhere else. And it only goes so far. Language just doesn't deal with certain kinds of stuff. Period. End of story.
But such as what though?
Pardon?
I mean, if language describes reality, what?
No, language doesn't describe reality. Where did you get that idea?
I mean, it's social convention that dog.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's not true. Language doesn't reflect reality. Language creates reality.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
I mean, we have our perceptions, you know, through a dozen different senses. All this constant emerging, changing flux of shit happening to us every microsecond. And the only way we make sense out of it is with language. We use language to put names on certain kinds of things so that we can think about those things. But that's all done in the domain of language. All we have is our immediate sensory experience, which is inaccessible, really, except as just experience. And then we got our stories about it. And that's all in the domain of language. Very useful tool, but if you're confused as to just exactly what language is, what it can do, and what it can't do, it can be really a big problem.
So, I mean, when I think back to college and then my life experiences after college, I can say that if I were to take a class and have spent more time studying ethics, morals, virtues, because I've read Confucius now, and once you read Confucius, I just realized how lacking my moral education was and how formal you can make a moral education and using source documents. And so to me, you know, part of the problem with a lot of people's lives is they find themselves in hot water and trouble because they're not mindful about the law. I'm not talking about
conscious about who they are, what they want, what they think they want, what they want to want. You know, people are. Again, we're at the end of the age of Homo sapiens, and I think, really, we are a new species emerging. The Homo sapiens had a good run, but it ain't going no further.
Well, oh man, I gotta say, AI and I don't know, because it depends on the platform, but I'll tell you, Elon Musk and X and what the AI is doing in X, there is a very persistent flow of communication, which is totally inaccessible on any other platform. And that communication seems to be driving the narrative. And whatever drives the narrative, in a way, determines
what narrative are you talking about?
I guess global narrative, you know, because it's not just U.S. communication; it's European, it's Asian. It's really pushing
about mass communication and the messaging that's going on in that domain.
It's pushing for peace and and it's pushing for peace now, which is silence now, basically.
Well, we'll see what I'm expecting big changes in the next 10, 20 years. I expect the United States will be gone by then, and we will be well on our way into a new world within 20 years. So it ought to be real interesting.
So
to see
isn't
how
that
this plays out.
isn't that essentially a terraforming theory then?
Well, we have a job. We got to clean up the big mess that the language monkeys left for us. That'll take a century probably.
Well, it. So what is that? I don't know, because that Maharishi heard him say like we need 20% meditators, and that's sufficient. That's critical mass.
That's not. I mean, that'll be good. We need a critical mass, whatever that critical mass is. But what we really need is a new species. We need a planet full of enlightened people. Yeah.
But isn't everything always a bell-shaped curve and an index? I've never seen anything that doesn't always end up becoming a curve.
I don't know what that even means. No.
Any group of humans always creates an index of data, and that data always resembles the statistical bell-shaped curve.
Okay, if you say so. Well, listen, those things get created in somebody's language machine.
But
those aren't part of the universe.
I know, but it's like Pareto's principle.
We invent in the domain of language a way of thinking about things. Very useful, but important to remember that's just a map that we made up.
But Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, does always seem to keep coming up in group behavioral, dynamics. So
well, there are certain. So what? And therefore what?
Meaning that. So what I'm saying is, if we hypothesize that 20% meditators can create the global peace and enlightenment, what if that communication is inaccurate and it's actually already taking place, but we're unaware that it's taking place? So our absorption or our theories are actually insufficient.
Well, if we believe our theories, then we're idiots. We should understand that all we have is maps, and that they can come and go out of date. They can be useful today and useless tomorrow. And you always have to check and make sure you got the right map that you're applying. Yeah, but that's just standard procedure.
But what I'm saying is your forward projections about the disintegration of the United States is basically inaccurate, because the now is all there ever will be. And essentially that's saying that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the universe, that the way things are now, there's a 98% chance that is the way things will be permanently in the future.
Well, that's your hypothesis. I think that's insane. Everything's changing all the time.
But I could say your projection is insane. It's the same thing.
Well, but of course. But then again, that's it. You've got your stories running in your language machine. I've got an entirely different set of stories running in my language machine.
Okay, so if you have the contrarian or the devil's advocate at your heels, isn't that why people even communicate, to try to create a silver lining?
Who is the devil's advocate at my heels? What the hell is that?
Meaning that I want, as a communications consultant, if I'm worth anything to you, I would want to play the contrarian to your position to help you eke out a little more.
But I'm not looking for a communications consultant.
I'm just saying, in terms of like why I believe people have conversations, which, people are looking for a contrarian position on what they're presenting or suggesting.
Really? I don't think people are looking for that at all. People just want to get laid and have more money and a bigger car or whatever.
Well, that's all dopamine. Metaphysically, it's all dopamine.
Well, whatever it is, I'm just not interested in dealing with most humans, actually. They say they just bore me. I'm not interested in the stuff they're interested in, unless they happen to be interested in stuff that I'm interested in. But I have to listen to them for a few minutes to see if there's any possibility of real communication. Generally, there is no possibility for what I would consider to be real communication. But it takes me a few minutes to figure that out, and then once I figure that out, I can proceed to politely end the conversation or get into it with somebody.
So, in terms of other languages, Arabic, Turkish, Russian, German, and your understanding and knowledge is all in English, isn't there still this whole language divide which is preventing some type of super integration?
Well, no, but that's all handling. English is taking over. I prefer we call it Earthling, not English. Everybody's learning English. I mean, you go to Northern Europe, most of the people in Northern Europe speak better English than my neighbors do. Okay? It's astonishing. And all over the world, everybody's learning English.
Yeah.
It's already the language of science, the language of air traffic, the language of business. That's it.
What was I reading today? I was picked up this book. I was at this girl's apartment this morning, and I pick it up, and it's called Tomorrow, 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 something by some girl. The point is, in the front, it says that the typeface is the same typeface that the U.S. Constitution was created by Balance or whatever his name was. I could Google it. But it's from, 1890 or 1790 or 60. So I was like, it's kind of like the Steve Jobs thing where in communication, that typeface is really built on efficiency. Of distribution on the page, clarity. So it's the typeface of the U.S. Constitution. It's been used so widely and heavily in print books, but most people are completely unaware that they're viewing a typeface. So that shows you the lack of mindfulness or awareness that people have no understanding of the framework of the words. I don't know. I just found it an interesting tidbit today.
People don't understand much of anything. They live in a kind of fog. They never go too deep because that's when you start running into interesting questions, and that makes them nervous. So basically, they live in a kind of fog. You have to be very careful about anything they say because they're never quite sure what the fuck they actually understand, but they got to keep up the show that they actually know what's going on. It's pathetic. So that's why it's coming to an end.
So how do you view your life? It's 2025. I asked my great grandfather when he was 105, how did you live so long? He said, I don't know. I won't die. That's what he said. And so even at 42, I view the fact that I made it to 42 as being, pretty lucky because I know
I never could see past 40.
Yeah, I know all these 18-year-olds that died in Afghanistan, Iraq, never lived a life, and I'm thinking, you read the Tao Te Ching, and it says that those who die in war never had life in them. So it's the book really is to me a significant book in self-revelation or self-exploration, self-improvement.
Obviously, this book has had a profound impact on you. You were right for those words, and they landed.
Yeah, it seems to really, I don't know, it's just a special book. It's the second most translated book in human history.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing is, to me, it takes a book, it's external programming, but without that book, I wouldn't have that awareness of this type of mystical understanding about a life, because otherwise I'd be so propagandized and politicized that I would never have gotten to the metaphysical point of, the one now, or silence now, essentially, or basically meditation. There's this coexistence room on this app where this Jewish Israeli guy in Israel brings in a lot of Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims and Jews, and they all have their, yelling match for hours and hours and hours. And I told him, I was like, you need to reframe your room as in how to learn the art of meditation or how to create peace now. Because you're not even framing it correctly. You need to essentially be a professor, be a teacher, be an educator, or a communications consultant. Otherwise, if you don't frame it correctly, the people in the audience aren't going to really learn anything, and you're not going to program them with anything that they can leave your room with that is of great benefit to them in their life. So you're kind of creating a dance for people, but it's like Fight Club. It's not a dance, and it's not an educational theater. It's just a Fight Club. And I'm like, so just...
Well, he obviously knows what's going on in his room. If he didn't like it, he could change it. But that's what he wants.
Yeah.
That's what he's created.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people on this app do.
He just has to have another idea.
Well, I hope that by going into the room and trying to give him my opinion, it, you know, changes his behavior, but I know it won't. But
Well, then don't waste your time.
Yeah, I just like to, I see, I'm always spewing the same self-actualization bullshit, but I find it to be a good reminder of, you know, useful communication. And I think some people appreciate it on this app.
Well, yeah, but the challenge is to find those people and talk with those people. Otherwise, you just, you know, nobody gives a shit about this stuff. Really, 98% of people, 98% of the time, don't give a shit about any of this stuff. You know, if they're not coming to you asking questions, they're not listening. That's the challenge, is to get them to ask questions, and good questions. And once you make that your goal, you can begin to learn how to do that.
Yeah, well, that's
If you're
why.
asking questions, then you can actually make some progress with people.
Well, that's why I go back to 98. You know, as you pointed out and corrected, 98% of communication is spam. And
Yeah, whatever. It's
well, I just like to remind some people who always ask questions as opposed to saying something interesting, profound, or intelligent to demonstrate the comprehension of what they're trying to demonstrate through the question. And I find those people to be problematic for themselves, you know, and they don't foster or create environments for people on this app that want and need peace.
Yeah. So what? So now what? Given that, what?
Well, you know, it always goes back to meditation and peace now. I just don't see a lot of Christians and other people who love to espouse their all or nothing theories. They don't create peace real time. It's crazy.
No, they're all a bunch of fucking brain damaged language monkeys. Get over it. They're robots, just running the programs in their, you know, in the neural net that's crinkled up inside of their skull. There's nobody home. Move on. Don't waste your time talking with them. You're just polluting your own language machine with their bullshit.
Well, if you look at, you know, ever since movies, you know, basically the black and whites, the 20s or the 90s, whenever movies came out, humans around the world have been creating so much spam and communication propaganda hypnosis that it's almost, in a way, a majority of the entire economy. Really, we live in this information technology, but it's really like a communication
Listen, this is really getting tiresome. What you're doing is just going through an analysis of the caterpillar and how fucked up it is. Yes. So fucking what? We gotta build a butterfly here, not whine about the goddamn caterpillar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make the butterfly. I try to do it every day. I'm living in peace and love and joy.
All you talk about is how fucked up the caterpillar is.
So
that ain't pushing anything forward.
Well, then this will be the last thing I'll say, but years ago, after coming on this app and having so many conversations, I came to believe that that basically, I kind of lost it, but anyways, it's always a fascinating conversation talking to you.
Listen, you're a punk kid still, so you got a lot to learn and grow, and you're doing it. You're learning and you're growing, and you're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Oh, this is what it was. Is that all communication is essentially people trying to describe the situation as accurately as possible, which is the combination of the environment, organism, environment. So that's in a way.
Oh, but that's bullshit. That's not the you're saying that's the primary intention in people communicating?
Well, yeah, because that's
an accurate description.
In a way, because people are trying to accurately.
No, they're all trying to manipulate everybody. They're trying to hide what they think is the real thing that's going on and trying to manipulate people into doing the shit they want them to do.
Right. But for me, I find that my manipulation is to describe the situation as accurately as possible, which a lot of people can't do.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, being an accurate describer is a powerful thing.
Yeah, but then it brings up the point. There's two options. Well, yeah, we just basically laid it out, but it's almost it's surprising. I think that a lot of people aren't unaware of that. But
it's not surprising once you've seen it for 50 years. It's obvious. It's not surprising at all. Most human beings are brain damaged language machines. They are under the spell of the voice in their head. They're totally identified with the voice in their head. They think that's who they are. That's most people most of the time. There are moments when they are awake from that, but it doesn't happen often, and they're usually pissed off when it happens.
You know, Alan Watts, I couldn't understand it for a while when he was talking about ferry boat operators and how government and religious organizations limit ferry boat operators. And he says, let those who want to operate a ferry boat operate a ferry boat. But if you're too dumb to get on a ferry boat that has holes, that's a you problem. And I just found that to be kind of funny because that's the dilemma that we're still in. You know, Alan Watts had all the updated accurate diagnosis or ways to describe the situation. It's so prescient today, but in terms of when you see all the communication coming out of all the leadership, I mean, having gone through the military, it's constant stressing of leadership.
I don't want to hear any more of this bullshit. Like, I don't know what you're telling me. Come on.
Well, I mean, I hope you think I'm being accurate in my description.
How fucked up the old system is. It's fucked up. But it doesn't help to whine about it. Let's get on with creating a new world and quit.
Yeah, I'm doing it in the background. I mean, but here I'm basically essentially rehashing my thoughts. So I appreciate you for listening to my updated version of myself right now. I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. I'm getting less tolerant of it in the future.
Anyways, I appreciate you and I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Okay, man. Listen, you're welcome.
Right now.
Being sneak.
Oh, I'm put on it. I have clinical anxiety. I have.
So do I.
I have suicidal thoughts. Look at me, I didn't kill myself.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not.
But did you think about it all the time?
Yes.
Wait. If you want to read that back, I definitely almost killed myself a few times.
Hold on, Dwayne. I'm pregnant women. Hold on one
I
second.
don't think you get to actually doing it though.
Dwayne,
I
one
got
second.
30 votes.
Dwayne, hold on.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very normal, and I got scared close to the end when I thought about it.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else died besides him, but like they said, like he didn't really do any damage to like any of the fertility part of the
Roger returns.
Scarlet Knight.
Where did the pink taco go?
Oh, it's fucking Andy Warhol. Look at this.
No.
You know, they said everybody was going to have 5 minutes of fame, but really it's 15 years of fame because everybody's going to be here for 15 years on Clown House. You know it. I know it. There's no
Yeah, but
quitting.
we're gonna see actually he's coming off a little bit more feminine in this this role. Essentially.
Oh, Kitty, can you send me another photo of your titties with a bottle of vodka?
I will, actually, oddly enough. In a tank top holding a bottle of vodka. Now I think I have a drinking problem. I'm gonna go ahead and set that down. Lynn.
I'm an ass man myself, Kitty, so we can't cooperate on the list.
I exactly. So I got nothing for you. I'll have to roll on to the next one.
Did you show Roger your pink taco?
Oh God. Is that Roger? Oh no.
Yeah, pink taco's the new Roger.
Oh, I wish Roger was here.
Scott, I love your Facebook post podcasts, by the way. Great work. All those years in college are paying off. You got like 400 views.
For beating the shit out of the creeps on Clubhouse. You just really don't.
You're so angry, Kitty. If you only loved yourself more, you wouldn't be so aggressive with everyone.
Oh no. I do love myself plenty. And basically just about everybody on the stage, and I haven't really checked out the listening lounge. You're the only one that seems to be consistently annoying me.
Maybe you and Roivas should go on a date. He's recently single.
Oh God, what's wrong with you?
I hear Roivas is tall. I know you like tall men, Kitty.
Okay.
What is this new character thing you're doing?
Yeah.
It's my Andy Warhol impersonation. Do you like it? I just finished a new painting with Basquiat. I blew him in the back room.
It sounds like more. I know, I love it. It's like an elderly white woman, maybe Jewish, but maybe not. With that like.
A woman shot me in the stomach. She wrote a book called Scum: The Society to Cut Up Men. Have you heard of it? I was murdered by a woman.
It was a movie about it called I Shot Andy Warhol.
Who shot Andy Warhol? Says you want to come to the Silver Factory sometime and shoot a video with my autistic video camera? I'm technically like the updated version of Andy Warhol because I live.
Why don't you film the Eiffel Tower for 16 hours and we'll watch that?
That would be cool. We could see Emmanuel Macron walk around holding hands with the King of Albania and then with Alexander Soros and have a big dinner in the Palisade. Oh my gosh, the world is run by.
Maybe the CIA can organize a big art show for us.
It'll be we're gonna do it all over again, Roivas. You and me and Kitty. Kitty, quick, take a picture with a vodka bottle in your Civic and show us your tits. I'll publish it on. Overstack.
No, take your time. You'll get there. Go ahead.
What's that stupid app called? Substack. Yeah, we'll publish your tits on Substack. So anyways, where's Roger? I mean, I was so happy to see he was back because I just love filming Roger Mayhem podcasts. They're always hilarious. I've realized, though, it's basically a cat playing with a ball, and that ball is generally a young black man that people pick on because his IQ is in the gutter. But, you know, I think it's like the Jerry Springer show, you know. Or the
Is there anybody on Clubhouse that you like enjoy speaking to?
I like everybody's role and character. Don't you understand the pantheon of characters in the society known as Clownhouse? You're one of them.
I will say this much. I know. I will say this. I use it. I use it whether you're in the room or not now. I'll even use the little emojis in the chat for Clownhouse. A lot of people have said that. You've actually accomplished that for sure.
Well, it's a spam generator, and that's what I've realized, is that if you want to consume spam and waste your life here, you're a spam eater. 99% of everything you hear on here is just spam creation. It's a waste of time. And it's a self-roast as well. It took me a while to figure out the spam aspect of this because you don't typically associate people with verbal spam. You typically associate it with, you know, email spam, mainstream media spam, whatever, other kinds of spam. But you don't view people as spam generators. Now I'm viewing everyone here as actually just, you know, professional to semi-professional to terrible spam generators or spam creators. Technically, everyone is a spam creator, and some people's spam sucks more than others.
So why are you still on Clownhouse?
Because I create spam myself. I just don't think my spam sucks as much as your spam. I think your spam sucks.
But like but nobody agrees with you, though. You know.
I know, but we're all entitled to our opinions. That's life. You didn't figure that part out yet? I think your spam sucks.
That's true. That's totally true. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I'm basing it on like people in the room. Like for example, Uncle Steve just got on stage. Now you can see him do Ask a Christian or Ask an Atheist or any even his podcast, and you'll see, generally speaking, a decent amount of people show up on a consistent basis.
Okay,
now,
I think your spam sucks, but I think Steve's spam sucks less than your spam.
I know you don't want to hear this fact, but it's a fact. I've seen your little thing pop up in the hallway, and it's just you, by yourself, by your lonely.
Oh, by my little lonely self creating spam. Oh.
I mean, it is what it is.
Well, you're so accurate. You're so accurate at diagnosing me and analyzing my room.
I'm telling you, I've even tried to show up for you. You know that, buddy. There for a while, I was like, something's
Listen, Kitty, the point is, I'll say it again, your spam sucks. I think my spam sucks less than your spam, which is like saying, I think Rodney Dangerfield is funny, George Carlin is funny, but I don't think you're as funny as they are, and their spam is a lot funnier than your spam.
I'm okay with that. If that's the case, I'm okay with that. I've got way bigger things in life than to worry whether or not.
Really? You do? You create a lot of spam here.
Yeah.
What do you worry about in life?
I think there's other things to look forward to talk about, to do.
Really?
And one clubhouse.
It's all just spam.
Some of the rooms have been interesting. Like, I don't know. I don't agree with you. Like, yours have been that. No, sometimes they were. In the beginning, I'm going to say this much. When you were on Instagram, maybe because I'm not on Instagram as much, but when you were, like, pushing it out through Instagram and you pop into some of the rooms and heckle some of the people.
But not so much anymore now. Okay, got it. Thank you for your spam submission.
No. Just try
Your
something.
spam still sucks. That's why I gotta move on to another room with other spam, because your spam is really low IQ stupid spam.
Okay, I guess that.
I mean, Kitty,
right.
you call
Bye.
Kitty, you call you call yourself a Christian, Kitty, but I've never heard you read the Bible. You have nonstop bullshit conversations about nothing. You create spam. You're a spam creator. When was the last time you read a book, Dr. Kitty? Hello? When was the last time you read a book, Dr. Kitty?
You're too interrupted and you're too loud. You need to take it down.
I'm just asking you a question, Kitty.
You want some of my vodka? It might slow you down a little
No,
bit.
I don't want any of your vodka, and I didn't want any pictures of your titties either. I'm just asking you a question.
For stuff you should and stop.
Kitty, I gotta go create a room and sit in a room and by myself and play a video. I'll be back. Enjoy your vodka. Take care, Dr. Kitty. You're really loud too all the time, Kitty. You're always loud. I never heard you be kind of quiet and soft. You're always real loud, Kitty.
Only there was a mod to kick it.
Ah, they're gonna kick. They know I'm roasting you, Kitty. They're laughing at this.
Yeah, the room had a ton of people in here when I got in.
Kitty, do you realize how many hours you've spoken on here and how many hours people have given their lives to listening to you, Dr. Kitty?
Really? Yeah, I know, right? Well, at least, I mean, as sad as I feel about that, it's saving them, sparing them from having to hear your rooms. Because
Oh, you're saving them from me. I thought you were saving them from eternal damnation and hellfire because you're a Christian preacher.
No, we're as above as below. And hypnosis, right? Is anybody buying
Big tits and a big ass is what you're saying.
Hypnosis.
Yeah, just say hypnosis and you'll put people in a hypnotic state. Just say hypnosis over and 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 over. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Literally everyone just left the room.
Oh no, I killed another room with my positive vibrations.
Yeah, positive. But anyway, that's fun. That negativity up. See, Scott.
So, Kitty, how would you summarize what we've talked about for the past 20 minutes? Is this comedy?
Ping me. But this is.
Why did you ping me in the room if you don't even want to talk to me?
I have pinged you before when it's interesting rooms. You don't show up unless it's something that you can disrupt, like destroy.
Well, through destruction comes creation.
Okay.
Oh, Andre's here. He speaks with Elon Musk. He must be a very intelligent and important person. Hi, Andre. Do you have anything interesting to tell us about today? Any cool opinions or pontifications that you think are so intelligent and interesting, one word at a time? No, didn't think so. Cat got your tongue. Just another reptile. A velociraptor, they call him. So, Scott, what's going on with your podcast? I've really enjoyed the Facebook posts. I thought the interviews were so intelligent. I was really impressed. It's very professional. I think you're going to become famous and get a couple million views and go on some type of Dr. Jordan Peterson tour one day. From Andy Warhol's lips to God's ears. Hello, Scott. Hello. Oh, Roger Mayhem must be having an after-party VIP room with select Clown House people. Because all the cool kids come to Clown House.
Do you guys want to hear? Yeah.
Like, I can admire anytime, even though, like, a lot of...
What do you think about the million Arab Palestinians going there? Lydia! Bye!
I'll try to read the speed of your thought, not mine.
Oh, speaking of Jews.
Speaking of Jews, I give you Jewish derangement syndrome!
Appropriate, and that's just it. We tell you what we do and not what we don't know. And yet I'm telling you, in the opposite case, Trump's doctor got out there and said something that's a straight up lie. He is not 225 pounds.
And we can be clear, when I spoke, I
225.
as well. So Dr. cannot just come out and say, let me tell you everything that's in his medical profile. And I'm not.
Don't talk about AI to Lou. He's on the AI detox program.
And speak about his findings about whether or not he had dementia, whether or not he was fit to serve. He wrote that letter and did so. He also was able to speak about the things that he did have going on, like the cholesterol, like the acid reflux. There was a couple of other things that he made. Which
communication is projection.
And not said anything, period. That's his right to do so. But he did it based on the conversation around whether or not he was cognitively able to serve. Just because he had a bad debate, just because he's old, just because he's walking, we see it happen. He's falling asleep all over the place. He's just now starting to go out and do things internationally. And what's happening? He's on TV sleeping. So everything that you guys did to Biden and my colored purple fingers is what you guys are going to see because he's aging while he's in the White House.
If Donald Trump starts shooting their phone,
They had it again!
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Take Lonzo out of the room! Lonzo, Jew hate racism!
I have a serious question for the room. Jonathan, may I have the floor?
Sure, let's go.
Am I real right now? I think I woke up this morning. So, Dr. Catherine, in your formal professional opinion, if I feel that I woke up
And my son came in and said, "Mommy, but I didn't hear the definition of that. Is it possible that my son lied to me and I'm still sleeping? I'm unsure. Am I fit to exist? I'm not sure. Somebody help me, Jonathan."
You gotta help me because you sound like you lost.
Well, that's what Marty sounds like. I just wanted to give a real-time example. I'm just as confused as you are. So, Dr. Kessler.
No, JB answered it. JB literally said what I've been saying the whole time. Perfectly.
I try to put myself in that mindset, brother. I'm trying.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is a new me. You're welcome. I'm still confused, by the way, but I'm willing to.
By all means, we all get confused from time to time. Hell,
I'm still asleep. Apparently, I just asked my son. He confirmed I'm still asleep, and I don't know if I can trust my son. I'm just saying, like you said, he could be lying to me, and you know.
Hey, listen, you guys gotta agree with me, but literally everything you guys were saying is literally proving my point, so I'm good. I'm literally good. The right way for y'all to grasp, that's okay too. But everything you guys respond with proves the point even more, so I'm cool. I'm chilling.
Well, not just that, but Marty,
Let's get to some other people, man.
yeah, well, that's my point. Did you even look at the poll that's up right now? The poll that's up right now. And we absolutely encourage you to please participate in the poll. The poll says, do you think Biden
BLM Rhino
served during his last year of presidency? If you feel he was just Marty, the room agrees with you by a majority. So let's go, people. We are asking for more voices to participate in this conversation. Because I don't know if you somebody's sweating over there with 10 Democrats, 10 Democrats, one conservative. Y'all better help him out. Back to you.
Hey, look, we good. We moisturized.
Oh, he got on camera for us and everything.
Yeah, we moisturized, but we ain't sweating. I don't sweat in the press. Look, it's all good. Please, other people speak up. Like I said, I'm not starting fumbling a few words, but my point was made, and I'm glad JB spoke up because he didn't even realize he just brushed it right into for me. So appreciate it. Please, somebody else, 99 of y'all on this stage, I know y'all got something to say. Let's talk about it. Because Biden ass was not fit to serve. He was not fit to serve. And Trump was not 225 pounds on his best day. I know y'all gonna bring it back up.
So Biden wasn't fit to serve. Have you seen Biden out and about since he left the office?
Kind of.
So you've seen him stand upright on his own, interact with people. He went to see Denzel Washington. Has there been anything that would indicate that he is not operating at full cognitive ability at his age?
What I will say is the cameras are definitely still on him. He's not insane in the spotlight anymore, especially when Trump's running right now.
He's still in the spotlight because a book is coming out and everyone's talking about him.
Every one of those appearances, every one of those times you mentioned, it was documented. No, none of these things seem to be apparent, but he's also no longer the president in the White House.
He was actually more shielded when he was the president and in the White House because, as you took about an hour to confuse us all and say, he was the president, so therefore he could have been shielded by the Democrats and by others, but now he's just former President Joe Biden. So he's actually more vulnerable now than when he was actually president. So like I said, your premise is that he was unfit to serve during the last year or at some point during his administration. We've all seen Joe Biden out and about looking very happy and gracious, which is how a lot of presidents look when they actually leave the office, right? So is he unfit to, does he look like he's got cognitive decline, dementia, confusion, doesn't know where he is he falling down? Anything?
That's the thing. No, in the times that I've seen, in the short clips that I've seen of him being out, my answer to your question is no. But once again, I personally believe you're no longer in the White House. You literally just said it. Most presidents, when they come out, boy, they look happy. They on the beach. They vacation. They chilling. I've never been a president, but we see it. We hear it. It's a very stressful job. So even though he may still have some medical issues,
Randy Johnson clowns for doing the song with George Chicago during the
he's not in RI every day like he used to be when he was the
the president. I can't say that. Does he still get media coverage? Absolutely. He's the former president. He's Biden. But right now, for as little as we're seeing him, does he look unhealthy? He's an old man living his life. But he's not. He's no longer president. So I would automatically assume some things may be as bad as maybe they were when he was constantly on the go as the president.
So you're saying that cognitive decline comes and goes depending on.
That's definitely not what I just said.
Well, that sounded like what
I didn't use the word cognitive decline in any one of
What word would you? When you say he's unfit to serve, what did you mean?
Okay, for one statement, I'm being unfit to serve. Me saying he was unfit to serve has nothing to do with. We're just talking about how he's living right now. Him, how he's chilling. And I literally just said, we've seen him a few times. You mentioned those few times. I said, yeah, but nothing of what I'm seeing about Biden right now can I say, yeah, man, I can still see he looking crazy. He's not, I'm not, where do I see Biden like that? I'm not, I mean, he's no longer running the country. Yeah, he's kind of out of the spotlight, not completely, but I mean, like, why would I say, oh, nah, the cognitive decline, you can turn it on? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all.
So he wasn't fit to serve.
But he wasn't.
By what metric was he not fit to serve? Because you can't say he's fine now, but he wasn't fine then. If he had dementia or cognitive decline, these things
I didn't say he's fine now, Nikki. I didn't just say he's
he's not fine now, but you just said he was
say that, though.
So what signs to you were indicative of the fact that you believe he was unfit to serve during his presidency?
Oh my goodness. Every time Biden spoke, and I know he had a speech thing, completely understood, Biden was beyond stumbling over his words. When Biden would be in a room and the uncut version, beyond what they show you on the news, what you're seeing on other media outlets, the uncut version, Biden is in a room, everything is moving around. Biden is literally like there were many signs. I don't have to live like many different times on many different clips of weeks just uncut, unfiltered raw, and you see he's not there. He's clearly not there. Like he's talking to you, slurring. He's quickly forgetting what was just said to him. Like I mean, like I said, I'm no doctor. I'll never pretend to be one. I'm no physician. I'll never pretend to be one. But I can also say, with my own two eyes, from what I was seeing, that was not even him and Trump are the same age. Can we honestly say them two move the same? Can we honestly? I don't care how you feel about Trump. I don't care how you feel about his policies. But if you really say that him and Biden, being at their age, they move the same, talk the same, have the same physical being, you lie to yourself. I mean,
so wait, you're saying that we need to walk on one side because the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, is in a wheelchair, so he doesn't have the same physical abilities as Donald Trump, like
And let's be honest, Trump, it seems basic to me, but clearly the DNC didn't think he was fit to serve going forward. And so they removed him in a sense from being able to run again. I bet he would have, so because they believed against the American people, other than Biden and Trump, Trump lost, and they took their chances on Kamala. So if that never had happened, I can understand his argument a little bit better. But it was clear to many Americans, not all, of course, but many, that he was in cognitive decline. I don't see why that's so hard to admit.
when one stop.
That was
and he would still be
great point. Hold on, Nikki. Hold on. You know that was a hell of a point, Nikki. Can you answer that?
No, it wasn't, because it's conjecture. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. If my mother had married a billionaire, then I would be a billionaire's daughter. This is what this sounds like. It sounds like you're trying to think really, really, really hard to make something true. If I submit that we have told you, because you didn't know this yourself, that both Wilson and Reagan showed clear cognitive decline. Cognitive decline is what would impact your reasoning. Number one, the president is surrounded by people that should be guiding his decisions, because that's how our democracy works. We do not have a dictatorship, right? Donald Trump operates on, I'm going to make these decisions by myself, which is why he miscalculated like the tariffs, right? Because he was going on his own and he didn't know what the hell he was doing, right? So if we've given you two examples of during U.S. history when it was apparent and clear that something was wrong with the U.S. presidents, as people who promulgate Make America Great Again, well, this is what America has always done. We protect the president at all costs when they are in office, whether or not you feel that they have had some sort of cognitive decline. So if you don't like how America has protected its presidents, including Biden, well, it's Haitian Flag Day, Marty. Maybe you need to go back to Haiti. I don't know what else to tell you. That's how we roll. Nobody said America great, right? Goddamn now.
I appreciate you saying that. What you just said.
God protect our presidents, please. Whether they have dementia or Alzheimer's or prostate cancer. Amen. The end.
All right. You just said protect the president at all costs.
The problem is they couldn't protect the president during the debate. The man couldn't answer questions. I just listened to you, Mickey. You're very articulate. You're a great debater. You have an answer. I don't agree with some of the things you're saying, but you have an answer. The man couldn't come up with an answer during the debate. He stumbled. He fumbled. He took off 2 weeks before the debate. What else do you need to know? He shook hands with people that didn't exist. He walked off stage in different directions. He was with the G7 summit. They all had to kind of gather around him. The evidence was obvious.
So, Andy, that's not true. That's not true. At the G7 summit,
Let's let him land first.
At least I talking, John.
No, he didn't. He's still talking.
I mean,
Actually, go ahead.
The bottom line is that the president of the United States has to be able to stand up. He has to also be a cheerleader for the country, but he has to be able to stand up and answer basic questions that are thrown out by him by people who are monitoring debates. He could not do that. I saw it, you saw it, the world saw it, the Democratic Party saw it. This was not like a MAGA's decision to get him out of the race. This was the decision of the Democratic Party. And you know how there was a room the other night. Did Biden fuck the Democratic Party? Yeah, he did, because he was the one who said he endorsed Kamala. That's how he fucked you the party. Had you actually had like a fast food or like a speed dating primary, we would have got to see a lot of capable people. And I think it would have been very much different. But that's how I see it. It's okay to admit he's 70 years old. 80 years old. You know, the difference between Trump and him, and Trump and most people, Trump never smoked a cigarette, he never smoked a joint, he never did a drug, he never drank alcohol. That doesn't make him smart. That makes him it makes him drug free. And that makes his body, even though he abuses it with the McDonald's and the high fructose corn syrup and God knows what else he eats. But, he has those things going for him. And those things are factors in one's decline. Anyway, now I'm done talking. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
So, as I was saying, at that G7 summit, clearly you didn't look at all the videos because there was someone calling him, and that's why he walked in the direction that he walked. That's number one. Number two, he did not have 2 weeks off before a debate. He had just come back from the G7 summit. He came back with an actual cold from that particular summit. So there was no 2-week break. And then by all accounts of everyone, Biden answered the questions that was posed to him, and Donald Trump did not do so at all. So, yeah, that didn't happen, Andy, at all. Biden asked all the questions.
Andy, mute up Andy, please. You mute up. Let her finish.
You can go ahead, John, because it's just broken records at this point.
I just heard you speak much better, much more articulately, much more forcefully, much more passionately than Biden did in his last year, or even beyond that. You know, listen, he wasn't fit for the job. You could call him in mental decline. You could call him he never really was fit. You could call him, you know.
Andy, can I ask you a question, Andy? Because I'm no, I'm not getting it. Because you say you heard her speak more articulately than him, and Biden had mental decline. So it's not surprising. Why is it surprising that Rochelle can speak much more articulate than him?
I think half the people, I think everybody in this room was a more articulate than Al-Faz.
Okay, so why is that noteworthy?
Because he's the president of the United States.
No.
I really truly believe that should be one of his qualities, to be able to answer simple debate questions moving forward.
But he did answer the questions. That's the crazy thing. Trump didn't. Trump did not answer the questions.
One thing, guys. One mic, guys. Scott, don't do that with this podcast. All right, I will bore you forever, bro. Don't do that on this podcast. Go ahead.
I think it was universally accepted that Trump won the debate by CNN, by MSNBC, by Fox, by a lot of people. So that's just not my opinion. That was the opinion I think overall. Now you could have said everything out of Trump's mouth was a lie. I'll give you all that. But you could say who had more energy? Who seemed like they were actually ready to run the country? Who seemed more forceful? Who seemed like the better leader? It's obvious. Okay, I'm done.
So in actuality, it was stated that Biden answered the actual debate questions and Trump didn't across the board. And yes, the only things that you guys looked at was the aesthetics of who had the most energy, who seemed more lively, X, Y, and Z. And what does it matter when the person is sitting there unable to answer questions that he should be able to answer in the debate? What does it matter if he's sitting up there telling a bunch of lies and talking a bunch of bullshit? And Marty, go look for the mashup of Donald Trump before you want to talk about how Biden comes across. There's a whole mashup. I played it more than once of Donald Trump. Don't even play.
No, I did that when you said we. I was like, yo, even CNN, MSNBC, all of them after the debate was saying a lot of what we saying right now.
So they jumped on the story. So what's your point?
No. Jumping on a story is jumping.
They jumped on the story. What's your point? What they did say that Biden answered any questions. And what they did was okay, go ahead.
Instantly, oh my God, the American people have been lied to. What we just saw was absolutely atrocious. Buddy was crying on CNN. Black bald guy, I can't remember his name. Buddy was crying. And you telling me that was a jump on the story? No. That was right now, we can't even look at the American people and have the audacity to say, no, he's fine. He'll be okay. No, that's exactly why every single one of those outlets did what they did. Not one outlet was out there trying to defend that shit. The best they were doing was saying that he came, like Kamala did. He came out weak, or he didn't come out the best, or he didn't start off strong, or whatever the words were. But in the end, he crushed it.
And once again, he was doing G6. He did have a cold, and yes, he did have a bad performance in respect to energy and all of that. But he still answered all the questions, and they all acknowledged that he did so. So regardless of what story they jump on, Van Jones. Well, the question, that's the problem. You guys don't care about the fact that this man could not even participate in the debate by answering the questions that was asked of him. That doesn't matter because aesthetically, he had more age. Well, he's 3 years younger than Biden. That's number one. But look at him now, falling stick all over the place and what. So just wait. The same thing you guys again did to Biden. I want to see you guys do to Donald Trump. In real time, I want to see it happening. So at the end of the day, he's still better than Donald Trump on any given day. Period.
Rochelle, I'm just curious, then why did that lady strong arm him to get out?
It was a lady that strong-armed him. You had the high-dollar donors like George Clooney and a bunch of other people that went on campaigns to basically get him to get out, and he would not do it. So then they started attacking the down-ballot Democrats, meaning the ones running for the House seats and Senate seats, and threatening to withhold funding from them. So Joe Biden, because he didn't want them to be affected, that's when he decided that he was going to go ahead and get out of the race so that those people at down ballot would not be affected. That's literally what happened. Joe Biden said he was not getting out of the race. He called out the elites and the people that were the high dollar people for doing what they were doing to him. So, yeah, if you had followed it, you would have seen all of that.
Yeah, I get it. No, it pissed me off. It pissed me off that they did that to him, quite frankly. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It was coming out and saying earlier on, like, hey, look, this is the president of the United States. However they put their message together, they was better off just coming out much earlier. And that way they would have had a much stronger candidate to put in place. And y'all wouldn't have been here right now saying F Trump and all this. Because y'all had somebody else.
First of all, he had every right to run. He was literally the president.
No, he had every right.
Yeah, exactly. So no, if they wanted him out, they could have primary him. They should have just, why didn't they just primary him? Primary him. If y'all wasn't there, primary him.
Real quick, guys. Welcome to the Big News, guys. If you guys are listening at home, please make sure you guys download the Chatter podcast. You can download it at the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. Some really exciting things are going to be happening soon with the Chatter app. Real soon with the Chatter app. So you guys don't want to miss that. Also, if you're in the audience right now, please do me a favor, guys. This is the talk. You guys can actually download the podcast. Download the episodes. Download the podcast. Follow the podcast and download the episodes. For the people that that won the original Senate, I'm not gonna tonight. I'm just gonna require. I've requested that you guys send your DMs. I know who you are, so I'm sending extra DMs because I did get some extra DMs. We sure won't be getting them. Well, I think it was eight people. I think it was. I have it written down, but I think at the midnight on the East Coast, I'm able to send the title. So that's when I will be sending it out. But make sure, because not all of you guys have sent your DMs, your emails to the DM. So make sure you guys do that. With that being said, let's get back to it.
Who else wants some? Who else wants some? Y'all been real quiet today, left. Where y'all at, Mariana? Miss Yvonne? Where y'all at, man? Y'all got me getting ready to share the ring for y'all. Y'all real quiet tonight. I'm just saying, man, this stuff gonna come out. And y'all don't have to speak your true colors on the stage, but I know most of y'all, even though you support Democrat and you would have voted for him again, you know good and well he was not in good health. And that's all what it is. Okay.
Somebody, I heard you say my name.
You damn right I did. I said, where you at? You been real quiet tonight. Like, do you believe that? Do you believe that Biden was?
Good morning. Let me be honest with you. Biden could have been on a fucking gurney. Okay, with them got him on. He could have been on life support on the day of election, and I still would have voted for him over Trump.
I believe.
And I'm not saying that to be an asshole. I'm not saying that to be nasty. It's just that I'm saying that because I'm being honest and truthful. Because what's happening right now today is I believe is harmful to our democracy. So I love our country. And with what's going on right now, I have my eyes wide open. Many on the right and many on the left have their eyes wide open. And I'm ready for history. I'm ready to, when we speak about this in the future, I'm ready to say, yeah, I saw it. I wasn't the idiot. I spoke about it. I spoke up about it. Contrary to what Michelle says, whatever, we're doing a show every night. We're letting the world know about it as much as we can. Okay, so that we can open up as many people's eyes as possible, so that this will never happen again. So I'm going to vote for Biden. I would want him to serve right now? Absolutely not. Okay, because I think there's much better candidates and there's much better candidates.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But you're contradicting yourself right now.
No.
He has a top secret security clearance. My God, he makes the rockets for NASA.
It's a serve.
But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide.
For Cocoa Puffs as it was his last year. Exactly.
Okay, well.
But he got to it.
Corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred.
We got
When he got reelected, he wasn't cuckoo. So, like, hello.
What's called wasn't elected either. Cuckoo. Biden wasn't elected cuckoo either.
Well, he looked pretty cuckoo on the stage that night. I'm just saying.
No, but he wasn't elected. Cuckoo. Okay. He wasn't elected cuckoo.
No, the Robert Hart interview.
Did you watch that?
Did you watch that?
Which one? What are you talking about right now?
He watched it. The Robert Hart interview. Did you hear any of that?
No, I didn't. I gotta be honest. But come on. When you watch that video,
Come on. Go watch that and then tell us if you still think that you should have a turnip running the country.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But let me finish, guys. What I'm saying is, he's not a president now. Okay, he's not president now, so he did the right thing.
He just
He did the right thing, or they made him do that.
It doesn't matter. He did the right thing. So you can't make him the most powerful man in the world. Okay, but you just have to remember.
The party can't make him step down. Of course they can.
They didn't make him step down. He stepped down because they started attacking the down ballot tickets. That's why he stepped down from those people.
Because why?
He stepped down from those people because they were exactly from whom? From the down ballot tickets, from the people running for the House and people running for the Senate seats. They started attacking them because Mike went down the race.
I get that.
Because Mike went down the race.
How would you feel if Jill comes out with a book that absolutely says the complete opposite of what you think? Would you be disappointed then?
How would you feel if Melania came out with a book?
Don't answer a question with a question.
Okay, I'm gonna answer the question. How would you feel?
I asked you a question. Answer a question. I'll answer yours.
Yeah, that's a stupid question as far as I'm concerned.
That's a stupid question.
Because his medical physician said what they said, and that's what I said. That's what I think.
I asked a question.
And I gave you an answer.
Hypothetical question.
And I gave you a hypothetical answer.
No, you didn't. You asked me.
Absolutely, I did.
No, you know the question, and then when you answer the question,
That's my answer to the question.
Cindy, let me just say something, Cindy. Okay,
go take that.
Can I go take that phone to the other room?
Yeah.
Donald Trump right now has 3.5 years.
Me out of the room right now, Marty.
Right. Donald Trump has 3.5 years left in his term. Okay, God willing. You know, I just say God willing, it doesn't happen.
What happened to you and me at this age?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying God willing, it doesn't happen because don't want to go through that again. With this book coming out tomorrow, it appears that this was like a secret. Now, this book is going to try to expose the Democrats. They're going to expose the Democrats.
Who wrote the book?
Jack Tapper. Jack Tapper. Wrote it. And it speaks about how Biden's staff, went out of their way to deceive a lot of the party leaders and everyone else about Biden's health. All right.
Oh, so it's not going to be a nice book.
Can I understand this?
One second. Guys, look, I'm still talking. You will chill out, Rochelle, please. All right. So what I'm saying to you is right here is that this book is going to speak to, the fact that allegedly the staff went out of their way to deceive a lot of the Democratic heads. Okay, and they were deceived, but some of them didn't know. Some were deceived and some didn't know. And set the Democratic Party back years. And I'll be honest with you, they had idiots like myself out here, like capping and saying, hey, no, he's fine, this, that, because, we would think, that, he's fit to serve, but he shouldn't serve, okay?
Did you just call yourself an idiot?
Yeah, and he just said, no, I don't need Barbara Scott. I don't need commentary from right now. I'm in the middle of doing something. Okay, you talk when I'm done. Cindy can jump in. But yeah, because you don't know how to do this thing the right way. You want to make it whatever moment. But Cindy, I did call myself an idiot because I was an idiot for believing, okay, that the situation that he was okay, and not questioning, not believing, not questioning whether or not he was okay. And, that night.
I would never call you an idiot.
I
didn't see things that other people saw. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know that. But Cindy, what I'm saying is this right here. I didn't question it, okay? Even when on that debate stage, I was like, what? There was an off night. Like Michelle said, it was an off night. And I'm like, yeah, it's off night. Because I just saw him do the State of the Union. Okay, when you go back to the State of the Union, how he handled the people at the State of the Union. So I'm like, okay, so that's what I was using to justify that. I was sort of like a MAGA in reverse, okay? I was the MAGA in reverse. Not as bad as a MAGA, but I was a MAGA in reverse, okay? Because I tried to justify the State of the Union to justify these actions. But obviously, the Dems fooled me. Now, I was an idiot because I went without question, and it was because I believed the Democrats. The Biden, his administration, or his non-administration, his top advisors, the people that was around him, his bad man and everything else, they shouldn't have came out to us. They did the right thing by not coming out to us, but they should have sat him down and spoke to him. And he should never, ever tried to fucking run for president. I'm sorry, he should have never fucking run for president because guess what? Michelle keeps saying primary. Michelle, I'm gonna call you out on that one. Okay? You don't primary because it's party unity. You don't break party unity. And it was up to him to know what he was supposed to do. It was up to him to know that his condition has deteriorated. Or the people around him to let him know if he didn't know that his condition deteriorated. Okay? Don't tell us they primary him. Okay? When was the last time a sitting president was primary? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay? We had a split division, okay, when in 76, in 80, when Jimmy Carter went there, we lost badly to Reagan because of that. Okay, we had a split convention, and you can talk about primary him, like, oh, let's go to convention and primary him. So
that's not what I said, but go ahead.
You did say primary him.
You can't go to a convention and primary somebody because that means that they're at the general election point.
No,
but they could primary him in the beginning. If they did what they did once he reached the point to the general election phase and all the havoc and hell that they raised, then they might as well have primary him. What would have been the difference? What would have been the difference if they had done it at the beginning as opposed to doing it 100 days before the election? If they were going to do it, if they all felt that way, if they all felt like he should have run for a second term, why didn't they do what they did in the beginning so that they could have more people in the primary? Why didn't they get him to drop out then, as opposed to waiting until 100 days before the actual election, letting him win the primary, and then going after him once they went into the general election phase?
People would lie to Michelle. We're going to call my guy for that bullshit, right? I mean, damn. That's it on his stage and be a hypocrite and not call the Dems out for that bullshit. I mean, damn. You're never going to get me signed on with that. Okay? You're never going to get me signed with that because what they did was fucked up. Excuse my language. It was beyond fucked up. It was fucked up for the Dems. It was fucked up for this country. I'm being honest with you.
And that's in your opinion?
No, it's not our opinion, Michelle. You don't fucking deceive people when you got someone that's in direct decline. You don't push there. Okay, guess what? You don't tell the world because there's a security risk. I understand that. But you certainly don't fucking tell them to run again.
Joe Biden wanted to do, period.
Yeah, Michelle, you're MAGA. You're MAGA.
So that's just the bottom line. And again, you have no proof that he was in cognitive decline. Because if that's the case, then why didn't you see any of that prior to that debate? When he had multiple appearances, had been out on the campaign trail, and what have you. And what about the very next day when he went to South Carolina and his disposition was totally different than the night before at that? What about that?
Yeah, you know what? Let me just say
Was that cognitive decline the next day?
Let me just say this right here, because I'm never gonna agree on this. Okay?
No, we're not.
Because when people sit up here think I'm capping, I'm not capping. I call balls and strikes, and the Dems fucked up. Okay, Joe Biden fucked up. Okay, and he fucked the Democratic Party. And you sit here trying to say he didn't? It's crazy as hell. You sound just as bad. You sound just as bad as fucking Cindy and Scott.
In your opinion.
You sound just as bad as Cindy and Scott and Grant right now. And you sound just as bad as those people. So, right, Cindy? You sound just as bad as those.
In your opinion.
Is Cindy there?
Can I, if you don't mind, jump in about cognitive decline real quick? It's not something that once you're on the decline, it's a constant decline and there's never good days and lucid moments and you make all kinds of sense and you have all kinds of energy and then not so much. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced somebody over the time who has that, but that's not how it works. It's not like because he had a bad night, he's not going to have a good day, maybe the next day or the day after. Maybe later on when he'd been in cognitive decline for a while, but in the beginning stages of it, it's not how that works.
Yeah, my dad had dementia, so I don't need a lecture. Thank you.
Well, dementia and cognitive decline are different.
No one's lecturing you right now. We're having a conversation.
Well, that's exactly what they said that he was having.
I know, but we're having a conversation.
Yeah, well,
but you just say nobody ever push back. That's what you're doing right now. Like, no one's ever push back.
She can push back, but I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back and say what I say.
She wasn't reasonable. She wasn't disrespectful. She just stayed in position.
And I pushed back by saying what I said. Because that was everything that I said about the very next day when he did the South Carolina thing, and he was totally different than the night before.
Go ahead, Marty.
I was
going to Marty.
I was waiting for Cindy to come back. When we were talking, I read the description about the book. I'm like, shit, unless if this is one hell of selling the story, man, there's some stuff about to be let out in here, bro. Like, I just want to read this section right here where it says, now the full unselling truth is being told for the first time. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson take us from behind closed doors and private conversations into private conversations between the heaviest of hitters, revealing how big the problem was and how many people knew about it. From White House staffers at the highest to lowest levels, to leaders of Congress and the cabinet, from governors to donors and Hollywood players, the truth is finally being told. What you will learn makes President Biden to run for a re-election seem shockingly narcissistic, self-delusional, and reckless. A desperate bet that went bust, and part of a larger act of extended public deception that has a few precedents. The story the authors tell raises fundamental issues of accountability and responsibility that will continue for decades. No need to read the last paragraph. When I read that right there, I was like, holy shit, wait a minute. We're about to find out in this. I can't wait to read this.
Like, go read all what's written about Donald Trump.
I read.
And come back on here and read that.
That's not the topic right now about the books written about Donald Trump, okay? Right now, we're talking about new information that just came out about Biden.
I have the information. Is it true information? Has it been fact-checked? Has it been verified?
I know one thing. I know Jake Tapper wouldn't get up there and fucking lie.
Okay, so you know Jake Tapper. Okay, so again,
I know Jake Tapper.
Is it verified?
And I think Jake Tapper is a very credible journalist. I know that, and I know that Biden went out there on a freaking tour to try to get ahead of this shit. Okay, and if it didn't have some truth to it, okay, and made himself look even worse.
And you know that how?
He went on to the View.
So you know that's the reason he went on to the View?
Look, Michelle, no, one thing is only
thank you.
I like you, I'm like, and then see, absolutely.
You just spoke you just did that until I questioned you.
Those are my opinions. That's what I said. Like I said, I think.
Until I questioned you. I
choose her over him anymore because he's winning too much. Okay, they did. And then they turned around and then they did that shit with Clinton and Bernie. Okay, all right. Then down in Brazil and all of them came out and spoke about that shit later on, the emails and everything else. So you want to try to clean it up and clear it up? It was.
There's nothing to clean up. Bernie Sanders is
I'm gonna land first, okay? And then guess what? Joe Biden ran, and then he got in, and they turned around and they tried to do the same shit this time with Kamala. And then Biden should have freaking the Dems have been trying to pick winners for quite some time. And I'm gonna be honest, you haven't been good at it. They haven't been good at it. Obama won over Clinton, okay? Then won the election. Good. They Obama had to force that. He had to win that. The Dems didn't give it to him. They wanted to give it to Clinton. Okay, Clinton, they gave it to Clinton over Bernie. Sure, she got more votes, but they made sure that she got more votes. They poured more into her. Okay. And then you came in and said, that's right, we don't want no phony up there on the ticket. You came in and bragged about how that's right we did. But that was something good. It's not something good. If you're going to be the opposite of what you claim you're fighting for, you can't do the same thing that they do. All right? Then they turn around and they said, go ahead. You did. You said, Bernie. Go ahead. I'm going to say what I said. Go ahead. He said it was easier to run on that. Go ahead. Because I'm going to say what I said. Go ahead. What you said. I know exactly what you said. No, I'm going to say what I said. Go ahead. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and land with that right here. Listen to me. This book's going to come out. And guys, like I said, there's 8 copies of this book that I'm getting. You guys are hopefully in less than an hour on East Coast. Hopefully coming out East Coast time, I'll be able to get you guys this book. So hopefully you guys, it's audio books, man. So you guys ain't gonna be reading it, it's audible. So I don't know. Maybe you guys could take it and run it through AI and have it printed out. Bro, I'm gonna have this thing listened to as soon as it comes. Exactly, because I'm gonna try to get it out to you guys. Like I said, I'm giving out 8 copies of this book. 8 copies, so 8 people have this book hopefully at midnight. Okay, I was able to do my own pre-order. It's sitting in my basket, so I think at midnight it comes out. If that's the case, you guys will have yours, and you guys will be able to listen to it. I know several people that had that name I called is there. You guys will have your book, The Original Sin by Jake Tapper, and definitely want to make sure that we have that. But guys, with that being said, Rochelle is going to tell me what she said. But here's the deal, folks. Debate the News, guys, as you guys know, we're a podcast. And what I want to do right now is I need to do a quick reset of the room. All right, so what does that mean? That means that we're going to Clubhouse. What we're going to do is we're going to actually do a hard reset. A hard reset of the room means that you guys are going to find yourself out in the hallway for approximately 5 seconds or so. And we do this, folks, because we have to, okay? That's not what we do it because we have to. So what I want to do is after y'all, you guys can come right back in. You guys, once again, 5 seconds and you guys are able to come back in. But before you guys go, okay, before I put you guys in the hallway for 5 seconds, I want you guys to look up top. Up top we have the link for the podcast. All right, do me a favor, folks. Download that link, follow the podcast, and then download the episode. So, Clubhouse, we're going to go ahead and put you guys out in the hallway. Within 5 seconds, the room will be reopened. Just come right back in, and you guys are out of here right
And something else is doing to you.
I'm gonna say is because the reason the system is important. I ain't no Spanish.
Betty, which one is it? Is it the Mayan or the Aztec? Like
All communication is spam
the
and
butterfly.
hypnosis and projection.
The creepy butterfly. Yeah, I like butterflies because they're.
But there's of course a lot to discuss. I'm sure you probably had like a lot of discussions in Andrew's rooms about this. I know that there's like a few staunch communists in there. I think Piper might be one of them, right? Have you discussed with him?
Well, yeah, I hate Piper. I think Piper is a blowhard and or ridiculous person. And whatever. I don't like Piper and I don't like having them. But I was just talking to Sayla like 15 minutes ago, and I was like, Sayla, how can you say that Christianity, that like communism is good in principle, even if it doesn't work in practice, when it's fundamentally based on covetousness and theft? Like, how could you as a Christian endorse that as an ideology? It's fundamentally against 2 of your 10 commandments. Actually, it's more than 2 because it's also atheistic. So it's against that, you shall like, worship God or your Lord God, So like, how can you say it's like it feels like just she was just repeating liberal platitudes of like, oh, it's good in principle, doesn't work in practice. If you're really a Christian, you shouldn't say it's good in principle.
Yeah, no, I see what you're.
Does she even understand though what she's saying? I mean, and also, I mean, there's 2 sides of it. I mean, there's wealth redistribution where you get to live in everybody's house. You don't pay. I mean, there's that Soviet style thing, but then there's the Federal Reserve and creating hyperinflation. I mean, which one is it? The same thing? No, not really.
You're saying you see communism as violating coveting? How?
Well, you're not allowed to cover your neighbor's wife or his donkey or like there's other things that you shouldn't cover your neighbor's stuff. And when you're sitting there saying, look at these rich bourgeoisie, they have all this stuff, I should have it. That's you just sitting with murderous envy in your eyes, coveting their things.
Oh, okay, so technically you're making a more nuanced argument. You're saying it would be against the Bible to bring about communism because innately it would require a wealth transfer from the people with possessions to the people without. But I thought you were talking about like in the communist world, because there were debates within the early communism whether or not I think they both agreed that communism was inevitable, but capitalism said we have to provoke it, like we have to cause it to happen, right?
Not so inevitable, is it?
Well, but that's what I'm saying, Sam. She could be of the opinion that communism is inevitable, and then it's not violating the 10th commandment because she never got to coveting. It just happened, and then the wealth was all redistributed. She never cared about anything else. Stuff she had got.
Yeah. I have this like really like simplistic view that different political systems can be boiled down to a number of like basic emotions. Like fascism is disgust. They go disgust at the outsider, disgust at the person you see as a parasite. I see communism as just like envy. I see Christianity as a lot about guilt, forgiveness. I see a lot of I don't know. I mean, it just feels. I probably do more, but I think there's truth in this. That like there's like emotional valences to entire ideologies.
Feels tricky. Feels like also the ideologies would be translated different in different regions. Like fascistic Spain isn't the same as fascistic Russia or fascistic Syria.
I think Christian communists, they will cite things like, the meek shall inherit the earth as being like prescriptive.
Meaning like we should force the inheritance and kill the current owners?
Yeah, I think so. I've been at a few like communist events covering them. And I've seen a few Christians, I'm pretty sure they said some, like they had on their kind of like their slide presentation, the meek shall inherit the earth.
Right.
Well, they wouldn't call themselves communists, but they call themselves socialists.
Right, that's what they say now.
you got pride. A lot of warrior societies would be some pride and like, you know, arrogance at their warrior prowess. You've got early Sumerian societies and maybe Aztec societies about fear. Just fear the scary gods. You know, you shouldn't love them. You should just fear these scary gods.
I just feel like any community of people, a culture, an ideology is going to touch on all the emotions. Like it's trying to address the human experience. So some people are going to attach to different components. Some people more the cerebral, some more the emotional, some more the experience. All different components. But like, I don't know. It seems like risky, kind of lazy, stereotypical reasoning to say that like an entire culture expresses a certain type of emotion. Like it could be done, you could claim it. I wouldn't want to like exclude it. I'd just say that you're more likely to be wrong than right.
So that's well, you were trying if you want to talk again, but I think that
I was just trying to say hi to Melita, then she left. So.
Okay. I think that it's true that it's like, you know, these big, you're putting one like simple theory over this like noisy, like a society is like the most complicated thing in the world. Like you got human brains, which are as complicated as they are, and then you put them together into these complex webs of like economics and geography and architecture. It's gonna be a complicated thing. It's just gonna be hard to like characterize that whole. But like sometimes you can like look at a cloud and be like, that cloud is duck shaped, that cloud is whale shaped, and there's gonna be a certain like truth to what you're saying. Like it's gonna be not the whole truth. It's an ever changing fuzzy thing you're looking at, but you can still point out the contours of it. And I think that how can you not see the way? Okay, for me, maybe I'm being crazy. I just say like, obviously communism is envy. Obviously fascism is disgust. Like I don't know, like those are cool.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I kind of agree because these ideas are ultimately originated in the minds of people, right? So yeah, you'd expect that this is going to be the product of someone who fears, you know, chaos, or someone who's just like disenfranchised with the progress of others, or people who have like as you said, like a disgust, or people who feel that the only way to organize society is by controlling them. So yeah, I don't think there's probably a field. I mean, Carl Jung would have, I think, discussed this when he was.
Yeah, but you can control them by educating them with the truth. If it makes sense to them, they'll, hopefully not reject it.
I fundamentally disagree with that. I think people have intellectual ceilings and control.
Yeah, but if I accurately describe the situation and it's accurate, I'm essentially influencing you and manipulating you by exposing you the truth to you, which is your unawareness to what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just, ideally, you would simply, educate people that make the right choices. Education is just going to be part of it. Making a choice, a life choice is going to be, you're going to have control over that.
Well, I guess it's just how good your educational system is, right?
If the educational system maximizes liberty in your education, it's better for you and everyone. I mean, when I went to Israel and I saw this Palestinian Media Watch organization, I realized how hardcore brainwashed and programmed they are through all their media to essentially shahada themselves. I mean, it's a hardcore, militant, suicidal, guerrilla warfare communication that the Palestinians have been doing to themselves. That's not education. I mean, that is brain control, mind control, conditioning. It's that's what this is what happened on October 7th. It's their internal communication which drove them to do that.
Well, Sam, just like when you were looking at the cloud and you said it looked like a duck, I'd say you're not exactly expressing the much as you're projecting onto the cloud and revealing to us something about you. Which is to say, like, not to be like critical, you know, everyone knows those emotions, but like when you say, I see pride over here, I see envy over there, you're more saying what you're able to see and put together from that culture. You're not saying the totality, and you're just sort of explaining what you're able to see within. See, like,
Yeah, that is a good point. So Sam, what you have to do to make it fair is because you basically selected emotions or personalities that are negative, right? Now try to steel man the positives from each of those, and let's see what happens.
Well, you can start with the opposite. The opposite of disgust would be purity.
Yeah. The opposite of envy would be
probably something like equality in the terms of communism.
Yeah.
But those aren't emotions, you know what I mean? Like, you get pure, when you're disgusted by filth and you clean it up, then you feel the emotion of like, this is clean. Like, so maybe like...
No, I wouldn't just say that. Like, you're right that cleanliness, disgust, and purity are all related to each other, but there's a difference between like a negative component of there's a bad thing that I want to remove, and a purity component of this thing is itself and not anything other than itself, you know, pure.
So, like, I don't know, the good part of disgust is that you clean things up and that you, like, think that you don't let the statue, the beautiful statue...
They kicked me!
Yes,
type of new.
Okay, well, what is your response? Let's just start a new one. What's your response to divine hiddenness?
Divine hiddenness is like the non-resistant, non-believer thing.
Yeah, right. So here's just so everybody knows, the idea is that you have a God who's all-loving, who knows everything, who's omnipotent, okay, and let's say omnipresent, who cares, right? But anyway, and then you have people, right? Presumably, God wants to have a relationship with them because, you know, that ensures ultimately, you know, if it's a saving relationship, that they'll be saved from eternal torment or whatever, right? So the idea is well, you look around and it seems like there are a bunch of unbelievers who say, they claim, hey, I am openly seeking God and I'm looking for the evidence. I want to have a relationship with this being. So I'm not resisting. I'm actually openly seeking, like looking for the evidence, or at least I'm not actively resisting the evidence. I'm not resisting God. If God wants to present himself, I'll accept that he's there, right? So they're non-resistant and they're non-believers. But the idea is, if this God exists, why on earth are there these people? If there are these people. So you have to grant that there are these people to begin with. You might just say that there aren't any non-resistant non-believers, that every non-believer is actually resistant in some way. Now, that's one route that a theist might respond. That's one way they might respond. But that's the question, right? So why is it the case that you have this loving God? Why doesn't he just have a relationship? Why doesn't he initiate contact with the unbeliever? And the point is just be like, well, either he's not able to, so he doesn't have the ability, or he's not loving and doesn't care, right? So there's something wrong with his all lovingness. Or he doesn't know how to, and he's not omniscient. Something like that.
What about the idea that I truly believe the Holy Spirit is interacting in everyone's life, even when they're not a believer, to bring them to believe, but they may not be able to identify it, or they're like Piper really put me onto the ideas of not being able to see the pattern.
Not able to see that. Well, I mean, yeah. So I mean, yeah, Piper put. Why can't they see the pattern? Why?
So I had
haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. Like on one hand, I thought that maybe it's because they needed to be regenerated to be able to see the pattern. But then I also, because I've seen it, I've seen that people will have an experience and then willfully dismiss it. There's that. But also, they're not interpreting things or looking for things the same way that I'm going to use myself, because I could say the believer, but I just don't really know that to say that matter of factly. But myself, I am looking at, so God created this world, right? And so almost everything that I'm experiencing is a part of God's plan to convey a message to me. So I'm able to see God in everything I go through, everything I experience. If it happened, God allowed it to happen. And there's a relationship going back and forth with it. The other thing I wanted to ask Albedo this too was that Albedo was talking about wanting a relationship, and maybe I'll ask another atheist, like, does Albedo ever willingly like ask God, like, should I hook up with this girl or should I leave her alone? Should I go away for the weekend? Should I stay? Should I take this job? Should I not? And I wonder if that has something to do with the experience as well. So these are just all my assumptions.
No, I think that's good because, and I think that's, this goes back, and not to open that whole thing back up, but it is basically the same issue, right? So about the culpability and who's at fault here for people not believing, right? And what the atheist wants to say by running this divine hiddenness argument is just what I said, right? Either God's not all loving, or he doesn't know how to do this, or he's not, so that he wouldn't be omniscient, or he's not all powerful.
Yeah, and just kind of piggybacking off what Selah said, Andrew, did you want to go more into what it's like to talk to God?
Get it. Wait, what'd you say?
I said, did you want to go, to talk more about what it's like to talk to God?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. But yeah. So what's your $2 apologist? Yeah, what's your $2 apologist response, Carlton, and then what's your sophisticated advanced response?
What's my response?
Yeah.
My response was going to be a question for you, Andrew, about it, actually. Because I was curious why you thought Jesus, sometimes in the Gospels, there's times where Jesus didn't perform miracles for, hyper skeptics. I didn't know why did you think that was?
Due to their faith.
Because their faith, but they didn't have faith, though.
That's what I mean, their lack of faith. I think we're commanded to believe, and I think that you have the ability to choose belief. I think, because
So do you reject that there are non-resistant non-believers?
Well, I think there's a difference between saying non-resistant and actively seeking.
So they'd be like spiritual NPCs?
Spiritually what?
Spiritual NPCs, like the non-playable characters in video games, they're just kind of just there?
Yeah, they're not doing anything to seek God because they're not really after the truth. I think if they were seeking God, because the scripture says you will find me when you seek with me with all of your heart, right? And so I think that you have to have a love for truth. So I think that's volitional. And I also think that God.
Are you walking right now?
Yeah, I'm working. Sorry.
Okay, no.
Even if it's the case that you are seeking God, you may not continue to be in relationship with God. Now, you're once saved, always saved, Carlton, so this might not apply to you, and I'm going back and forth on that. I'm not sure where I'm at. You could pretty much put me over the edge with that Paul verse, but I'll just say this, if it's the case that you can lose your salvation, then it seems like that a motivation that God could have is that to be in a right relationship with you, it would be better to not ever be in a relationship with you if it's such that if you get in a relationship with God, that you end up just trampling, the blood underfoot, and it would be better. Your second state or your end state is going to be worse worse than your first state. It would have been better for you to not ever be in relationship with God because of the judgment that's going to be there for accepting Christ and then walking away. So I think my point here is that God can foreknow that. And so it's not good for him to initiate a relationship. It's not good for you for him to initiate a relationship with you, even if you are non-resistant, because you won't stick with it. You're going to be with God for different reasons, for motivations of like gumball machine, or he's going to, produce what I want, dance monkey, etc. And so you would walk away from it. There you go.
If I could be so
Dance monkey to God is crazy. Go ahead. Go ahead, say.
I'm not sure. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I'm not sure if I do yet or not. It's just that the way that I see that, what you just talked about, particularly about the faith, like, and I know I'm going to do a piss poor job at explaining this. Like, if we said, like, of course God understands every language, okay? But just for the hypothetical, let's say that God only understands one language, and that language is faith. When you speak faith in a faithfully charged way, you are speaking like the language of God, and it's almost that you bind him to doing it. And like even Mary, right? When Mary went and was like, he's like, woman, why are you, this is before my time. Like, why are you, but Mary believed and knew that he would go and, help these people out on their wedding day. Even though it wasn't his time, it wasn't something that he wanted to do, the faith is pulling on him. Even when a woman was having bleeding issues, she touched the hem of his garment. It's almost like the faith begins to like, it's almost like you bind God to doing it because of your faith. Now, it doesn't mean that God can't. That doesn't mean that God can't heal somebody that is lacking in complete faith, because the demoniac definitely has no ability to conjure up faith, because you're a vessel for evil, and not only that, you're out of your mind, I think that in particular, I think there's things that Jesus wouldn't have even done at all. Like, he wouldn't have done it. But the only reason why is because they were speaking the currency of the kingdom, which is faith. Does that make sense?
I mean, I get it. Do you think, but why can't we manipulate God then? Because it seems like if I could just, if God's like the secret and it's like power and positive thinking and stuff, it's like it would seem like as long as we can get